Welcome to the Caravan Show, where we discuss all things caravans. That's right, everything you need to know about caravans, from weights, towing, maintenance, appliances, renovations, buying a caravan, repairs, destinations and reviews. We'll also chat with some Aussie legends, manufacturers, suppliers and of course, people who love caravans. Take it away, Roy.
G'day everyone, it's Roy here from the Caravan Show once again. Today we're going to go about things in a slightly different way. We've been talking to mayors and some of the people around the country about getting caravanners in and how they want to welcome caravanners in. We've been talking about things to see and things to do. But as we're all aware, during these COVID-19 times, our entertainment industry has suffered fairly badly. And so we're going to have a chat with someone very special in a minute. Now, I'm going to let him tell you more about himself. But the reason that we've got him on this podcast today is to show you listeners that there's more to what's going on with travelling around the country today. There's these sites that we can see. We can go to caves, we can go to fishing, but there's also the actual real-life entertainers, and there's some fantastic entertainers out there for you to listen to. So today I'm really super excited to talk to a superstar, a legend in Australian entertainment industry, Mr. Issi Dye.
G'day, Roy, Mr. Roy, and hi everyone out there. Of course, it's great to be on and talking about something close to both of us, mate, which is you with caravanning and travelling, and me with getting out there and letting remind everyone that we're missing performing for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, Izzy, in my world, you've always been there. You've been a legend throughout my life, and
thanks,
and my era, I guess, are all feeling the same way. But you started out way back, didn't you?
Oh, look, in the mid-'60s, mate. I've been 55 years in rock and roll, but I can honestly say that over the last half a century, I've had an incredible time. Always enjoying the music, but meeting people all over the country and going to thousands of different venues and outdoor festivals and beautiful country townships. I think more than 50% of my shows are in the country areas, which is anywhere from North Queensland, Western New South Wales, Cobar, Broken Hill, Mildura, all the way down in Victoria. So I do meet and greet a lot of people that are grey nomads, travelling around in their caravans and turning up at different towns. And then when we're at a club, they come in and they say hello. And, we haven't seen you for a while. We've been travelling from, wherever, and enjoying our travels. And while we're enjoying our travels, we pop into a club or a festival at a country town, support them and see your show, which is tremendous.
Yeah, and I've been to a number of your shows, and I know just how warm and how interactive you are with your audience. But I want to take you back into that history pot again, if I may, Izzy. Back into the 60s. In those days, you were performing with all sorts of people on stage, and you've met an incredible array of people. I'd really like to dig into that a little bit. Tell us some of the people that have influenced you, people that you've met that excited you throughout your career.
Well, I think that the biggest influence I had was probably most people of my age bracket in the 60s, which we were only young kids, our teenagers in the 60s. We were definitely influenced by the two biggest acts at the time, and that was the Beach Boys and the Beatles. All right, we were seeing Johnny Cash, we were seeing Elvis and all those artists, but once the Beatles hit town and we could see that you could just be an ordinary person, get up there and sing a great fun song and the audience would love you, that really influenced a lot of people in my music genre to take it up as a profession. Albeit we were never going to be as famous as the people like the Beatles and Stones and those people, but it gave us the incentive to want to do that. And of course, fortunately, I was lucky enough in the early years of my career to do lots and lots of television programs with well-known Australian artists, people like Johnny Farnham, Ronnie Burns, Ross B. Wiley, talking of Ronnie, Normie Rowe, still working with a lot of these guys today, which is fantastic. And because we all came up at the same time and had the same influences, it gave us a very nice jump into, especially with the television audiences, a jump into the music scene in Australia. Then, of course, we were able to tour all over the country because kids would see you on television in, Western New South Wales or Northern Queensland or in Brisbane or wherever they were, and all of a sudden we could come and see them live at the Ekka, or we would go and see them at the Cloudland Ballroom, or maybe somewhere else in Western, New South Wales. So from seeing you on television to seeing you live on stage was a very exciting time for the teenagers of the day, and for us entertainers, because it gave us a chance to meet everyone.
Yeah, look, this is fantastic. I mean, this again is part of what we've been talking. We've been talking to these regions about the history. We find a lot of overseas travellers are going out to see history throughout the world, and actually we've got a lot of a history here in Australia, and some of that history actually isn't 100 or 200 years ago. Some of this history is actually 50 years ago, and I think the history that we had with our entertainers, with the rock and roll, and some of the fantastic performers that came out of this country, some went on to go overseas, some have stayed on, but that's a really, really rich history for our arts. And nowadays, people can actually get close and personal to people like yourself in some of these small venues, and that that's so exciting.
I totally agree with it. But when we go to country towns, as for example, we've just recently been to Cobar in Western New South Wales at the RSL club there. We've been to Broken Hill at the Demo Club, and it's way out in the west of New South Wales, down into Mildura, into Adelaide, places that I would normally not go, but we might go there once or twice a year. And it's just fantastic to meet country people who are really, really nice to us. I mean, you couldn't get more hospitality and hospitable people than the people in the country. Especially up into Queensland, where we've been to Longreach, Mount Isa, Winton, Tennant Creek, and all that stuff. We've just enjoyed it so much. And when you, as I said, you get a chance to meet people. The other thing I'm sure you appreciate is that we also like to jump in a caravan and go for the long trips, because it's an adventure for the artists as well, or people like myself. It's an adventure for us to go to country towns, just like anyone else, driving there to look at the Aboriginal history, or the history of what people were like in the 1920s and the 1800s, and how they lived in the country towns, the mining towns. We have a lot of history here, and I'm also a great believer in looking at that history, but at the same time knowing that at night time, after we've done all of the sightseeing, we can entertain everyone. That's great.
Mate, you back in, was it the early 70s you had your big hit?
It was the early 70s. I had several songs out. One called Personality, which was a cover of a song from Lloyd Price back in the 60s. Yeah. I had a song called One Last Kiss, which was from a movie and a musical called Bye Bye Birdie, a very well-known musical in the 50s. We recorded that one called One Last Kiss. Incense, which was a rock and roll song. Teeny Bopper, which is based on a Chuck Berry song. So had lots of rock and roll-y style numbers. But nowadays, I'm performing much more of a wide cross-section of music, and I put together the history of Johnny O'Keefe. Of course, I love doing my tribute to the great Johnny O'Keefe and singing all of his songs, and as well as the great Bobby Darin. So, yes. Yeah, look, in the modern era, you've got to be able to reinvent your career. And I think that people like myself, we get a lot of pleasure out of performing other artists' music. And it's great to be able to put the rock and roll thing together, like we do when we do the Cooley Rocks Festival in Coolangatta, and we get up there and play all the 50s and 60s stuff, paying tribute to all the great artists like Johnny O'Keefe, Chuck Berry, and Buddy Holly.
So you've mentioned the word "we" a lot in your conversations, Izzy. So who's with you on these tours?
Look, when I say we, I'm talking about musicians that work with me, but I've been working recently with Tony Worsley, who's one of the great Queensland artists that had the #1 hit with a song called Velvet Waters. He's a great entertainer, and him and I have done Twin Towns a couple of times. I'm also working with Danny Myers, who was the lead singer for the Deltones for 35 years. What a great voice. He sounds like Frankie Valli, a great entertainer. So once again, I'm enjoying working with the contemporaries of my music, as well as when I was touring back in the 1970s with the great Ray Charles and the legend Roy Orbison. They were tremendous to work with. Great memories.
You've certainly been totally involved in our industry for a long period of time now. How heavily affected have you been by this COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, I can say that with COVID-19, I'm the same as all the other artists. As soon as the restrictions jumped in the middle of March, everybody cancelled their venues because obviously the venues weren't allowed to open. And so we've lost over 100 shows now, there's no question about it, and with more to come. And looks like my thinking is that we'll probably have a good 6 months without any entertainment, but then it'll slowly dribble back to the small venues, and with a bit of luck and obviously with the flattening of the curve and the people are getting out there and coping with the restrictions, we'll be able to slowly open up the venues where more people can come in. Look, at the moment, the venues can still have some people in there, and they are opening up from this week with solos and duos, which is tremendous for those artists. But you can see that the bigger venues like Twin Towns and Noosa RSL and the places which normally gather several hundred people at a time and more, they're going to take a little while to open up, and so therefore we've still not got any work until they open up, and it's a terrible thing, but we've got to all be part of it, don't we?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I don't think a lot of people would actually realise this, but artists like yourself can be available for much smaller venues too. So people for weddings,
yes,
and all those special events, 21st birthday parties.
Birthday parties.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I think a lot of people don't realise that. But by the way, if anyone's listening there, they want to have a look at my shows and work out if they would like to book one of my shows. They're welcome to go into my website, which is www.issidye.com, and that's spelt with an ISSIDYE.com. Just go into issidye.com, click on there, and you'll have a look at my shows, where we're playing, what our history is, and then where people can connect up with us, like you did, Roy. And yes, of course, we'd love to do, whether it's a small venue or a big venue, it's all about connecting with people. And you know this personally because of my relationship with you and your family, that it's connecting with people is everything. And if people get in touch with you and it's possible to come and do something for them for a special occasion, we'd love to do it.
Yeah. And so we've got special events, say weddings, birthdays, those sorts of things. But also we know that there's a lack of major concerts, and hopefully we'll see those major concerts appear. But some of these councils out there, some of these regions should look at maybe putting on smaller venues and having artists come along and, try and boost it for everyone, give more entertainment in their areas, give our entertainers some work, which, at the end of the day, you guys, like the rest of us, you all have to put food on the table. Even things like, well, in our case, listen, caravan clubs, you have all these special caravan clubs have meetings. Why not invite or bring aboard some of these entertainers for some of your functions? They're available. It's not hard to do, and it's exciting stuff for everyone.
Look, you're quite right, Roy. It sounds like a great idea. I mean, the good thing about the caravanning industry is that when all the caravan people get together, like if they're going up to a venue somewhere or they're parking their caravans, the good thing about it is the restrictions of the social distancing is perfect there, because you can have a whole bunch of caravans around. People can sit at a distance away from each other, and we can be at one end of the caravan park or wherever they're having their function, and perform the music. And so we can certainly have a few hundred people in a big area. They don't have to be. They can be socially distant. They can still be near their caravans, near their vans, but we can be there performing for them, and it would be a wonderful thing to do. And if anyone would like that idea, please get in touch with Roy, and we'll come out and visit you for sure.
Yes, certainly. I'm more than happy to pass that information on. And the good news here for everyone is I don't think people realise that it's actually quite affordable. I think most people think that artists like yourself are just out of reach financially, and actually you're really not. They can put on other types of entertainment that would cost them easily as much as it does to have people like yourself. And what an experience. As you say, I've done this, I've had people like yourself, and we've done functions, and it's just been fantastic
We love. Look, thanks for you. Look, you're right, mate. A lot of people think that it's thousands and thousands of dollars to have an entertainer like myself there. Now, look, if it's a big venue, and you're looking at a venue which is huge, like Twin Towns or something, and there's 1,000 people there paying. Well, obviously that's a different thing. But that's like going to an arena show or a big concert. But when we go to small venues, we reduce our overheads, which is what it's all about, and we're able to go out as solo stars or duo stars or little band shows, whatever. And yes, we're always amenable to come to a compromise with whoever to see whether we can perform for them. And look, if anyone thinks about the idea of having us there, they can certainly get in touch with us. And if there's anything we can do to make it happen, we will. And look, especially any of the people from the towns themselves, the mayors and the people involved with any of the special events in these smaller towns, they should get in touch with us. We don't mind the drive up. I think the key is the travelling. A lot of people, the entertainers, are not so keen on travelling in a vehicle for long distances. Fortunately, I'm so used to doing it that in my own personal case, I have no worries and dramas with driving 1,000 kilometres to perform for people and staying a few days and coming back. So at least it gives me a chance, as I said, to see the countryside, look at the history, and at the same time perform for people that you would not normally perform for.
You know, one of the things that I noticed over the years is when I get to the opportunity to listen to some of the music that I was listening to when I was a lot younger, the memories that come flooding back are just phenomenal. And I did buy some of your CDs, and listening to that music.
Did I charge you for it?
Yeah, you did, Izzy.
No. Sorry, Roy. Sorry, mate.
Maybe it's something to do with your Jewish background. I'm not going to get into that.
It's probably true.
But
well done, mate.
I did buy the CDs, and I have listened to them, and it's the nostalgia for me is just fantastic. But it also reminds me of those times. So there's a nostalgic history element to listening to, you know. And let's face it, Izzy, you're not going to be around forever, no more than I am.
That's right, exactly right. Oh, yes.
So the opportunity to come and hear you and other performers like you is a closed door. It's not going to be there forever. You get in now, have a listen, meet these people. These are lifetime events that you're never going to forget about, and an opportunity that you'll never ever get again. So
that's right. And look, the one thing about it is that we know that there are new artists coming up all the time. Fortunately for us older acts, we've done the hard yards, and we've done the long trips, and we've done the Royal Easter Show and the Eckers and all the old days when we used to do 20 shows a day, all day at every 20 minutes at those days. But the good thing about it is they're our history, and they're the reasons why we're able to put the shows together today much, much easier. That's why I say to you that we're not prima donnas. We don't mind the travel. We love to meet people in the country, and with the caravanning fraternity, which is obviously a huge fraternity in Australia, they're our perfect audience. They're people that we've grown up with. They're people from the 60s. And they're the ones that love our music, and let's go and still see if we can keep entertaining them for as long as we can.
Yeah, I mean, again, we talk history. We're talking also pioneers too, because it's another big thing that Australian music has, in fact, pioneered very heavily. You are living legends. I absolutely love what you guys do. I love listening. I really want to see that we support you the way we should be. You know, we don't need to go overseas to listen to other countries' artists when we've got such talent already available to listen to in Australia. And we can go to our regional centres and we can hear, see, meet, feel and taste what comes out from you guys. It's just fantastic.
Meet and greet. And I think that's a perfect scenario, because the meeting and greeting of everybody when we're travelling is part of it. In fact, I've had so many. We've had so many connections, and of course we're doing Facebook. So I've had so many hundreds of people that I've seen at different shows are now connecting with me on Facebook, several thousand actually. And you meet them at a show, you have 10 minutes with them, some photographs, we chat about the show. They become sort of, oh yes, they get to know you a bit better. And then once they do that, they follow you at different places to come and see you whenever they're able to. And it becomes, that's what it is. It's all interaction. And they're the people that we do love to visit. And so, like I say, when I go and visit a country town and I've had a good time, the next thing I want to do is 6 months later or whenever, return back again and see everyone again. That's great.
Now, Izzy, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit with this one.
Okay, mate.
Of all the places in Australia that you visited, do you have a favourite?
Do I have a favourite place to visit? Okay, look, it's a difficult one to say because all the places when you're looking at somebody to visit where you're doing what's the word, you're going out to socialize and have a look at history, that's one thing. But when I'm going to perform, I go there for a different reason. Probably a couple of the favorites that we're visiting at the moment would certainly be up at Mildura area. I love Mildura and the whole area there. Coomiella, which is just over the border into New South Wales, the sports club there. They've been absolutely brilliant to us, and we've been back there 10 times. 10 times we've gone to Coomiella over the border at Mildura there, and you can see why. We love the people and they love us coming there. So you know what I'm saying? It's like a two-way street. That's one of the places I've always enjoyed. On the other one, of course, is I love coming up into Queensland and visiting the Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast. They're my two favourites in Queensland to visit for shows. It's always been close to my heart, and I've been coming up here for 50 years performing. So yeah, it's a big history here.
And yes, and it's not like that you don't travel overseas as well. I seem to recall in recent times you're spending times with one of the Finns over in London.
No, that's right. Well, we were lucky enough to perform in several theatres in the UK, but I did a completely different story there. Of course, I was performing my tribute to the great Al Jolson, so it was nothing like rock and roll. It was actually a theatrical type show, which lends itself to the music of the 1920s and 30s. So no, look, that was a great experience. Loved it. But of course, they wouldn't book me as a rock and roller because I'm not known there in any way as rock and roll. But they did know me as the Al Jolson performer, so I was lucky enough to perform that music. And I remember your old man used to love the music of Al Jolson, mate. He used to love it.
Mate, you're a true trooper. You really are, and versatile. The consummate entertainer.
Thanks, mate.
Mate, I'm really very proud to put you on my list of personal friends. And
that's great, mate. And the feeling's mutual. Although I don't know how good you are at singing, Roy.
Yeah, well, I'd love to do that one day, Izzy. I really would.
That's all right, mate. Don't worry. I'll be coming up to grab a caravan from you, and I'm going to look forward to heading up north into Queensland for a short trip. But that's something I'd still love to do. And that'd be great. So I know you're the big man behind pushing for people to go and enjoy themselves on caravans, and you've got one of the biggest caravanning companies in Queensland, and you deserve it. You've always been a great stalwart for people to get out there and travel the country in the safest and most enjoyable way. And good on you, mate. Fantastic.
Thanks, Izzy. Mate, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I look forward to catching you in the not too distant future. And
okay, absolutely, mate. Thank you very much.
So just before we go, just once again, Izzy, how can people contact you?
Oh, if anyone doesn't mind, they go into my website, www.issidye.com, ISSIDYE.com. On there, it's got all my gig guides and the contacts. No problem. They can give us a call or send me an email, whatever. But remember that I'm very easy to get in touch with. If they want to see what I'm doing, they can just Google me up on the YouTube clips, YouTube Issi Dye, and they can see all of my 10 or 15 film clips there with all the different shows I do. And if there's anyone out there that would like some music and we can come and visit them somewhere at a long distance, well, please get in touch. We'd love to see you and hopefully get everything back on the road again, Roy. That's what we want.
Come on, you regional leaders. Let's get behind our Australian entertainment talent as well. So, again, thanks, Izzy, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
Thanks, Roy. All the best, everybody. We'll see you hopefully soon. Bye, mate.
Cheers, mate.
one last kiss. Oh baby, one last kiss. It never felt like this. Oh baby, like this. You know I need your love. Whoa, oh, oh. Give me one last kiss. Give me one last kiss. Oh, one more time. Oh baby, one more time. You make me feel so fine. Oh baby, feel so fine. You know I need your love. Whoa, oh, oh. Give me one last kiss. Give me one last kiss. Darling, it isn't right. Why must we say goodbye? Don't let me go like this. Baby, I need you so, but if I have to go, just give me one last kiss. Oh, one last kiss. Oh, baby, one last kiss. It never felt like this. Oh, baby, like this. You know I need your love. Whoa, oh, oh. Give me one last kiss. Give me one last kiss. Darling, it isn't right. Why must we say goodnight? Don't let me go like this. Baby, I need you so, but if I have to go, just give me one last kiss. One last kiss, oh baby, one last kiss. It never felt like this. Oh baby, like this. You know I need your love. Whoa, oh, oh. Give me one last kiss. Give me one last kiss. 2, 3, 4. One last kiss. One last kiss. One last kiss. Give me one last kiss.